I'm happy to be welcoming Suzanne Lafreniere, Director of the Office of Public Policy for the Diocese of Portland, Maine, here to the GIST studios. Welcome. So glad to have you here, Suzanne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Now, working in that position for the diocese, can you tell me a little bit about what your work is like?
Well, my work is essentially like a lobbyist position. Most states in the United States have what's called the State Catholic Conference. In Maine, because we're only one diocese, we're just an Office of Public Policy, but essentially the same thing. And I represent Bishop Deely, my bishop, in the State House. Occasionally I go to DC and I represent the church there, and it's really interesting. Every day is different. And given today's secular society, it's quite a challenge.
Right. And then serving in that role as a woman, which is, a position of power within the church. What is that like? What kind of challenges do you face there?
I think sometimes it's a really great thing to have a woman in this position because it throws people off their game a little bit. When I introduce myself at the state capitol and I say, "Hi, I'm Suzanne, I represent the Roman Catholic Church," like their eyes kind of, I either get a backup or I get a really kind of lean forward, and it's different than what people would expect. And so I think having a woman's voice there, it can negate the war on women false narrative problem also. And there are a lot of women in my position doing this in the United States. Actually, we have an association of State Catholic Conference Director, and Jenny Kraska, she's in Colorado. She's our president right now of our association. So I think we're growing in numbers for women. I think there's probably 10 now out of 43 of us. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, do you find that there's a real place for a woman's voice inside of the church in those higher positions?
I do. I think our numbers are growing as far as leadership in the church. More women chancellors, more women just superintendents of schools. And I think it's very important for us to keep in mind that 50% of people are women, and so at least 50% in our churches and in our parishes are women too.
Right, so you're really representing that. And now I'm a big fan of John Paul II and his feminine genius. And do you find that comes into play? Because what I find as a professional woman is that sometimes there's that temptation to be more like a man, to get ahead, to feel successful in your career or inside of the church or have a position of leadership. Do you find that temptation as well, and how do you combat it?
I do find that temptation, but I'm always trying to remind myself that equality, we're equal in dignity, we're not the same. Right? So I'm always trying to remind myself, it's like, what do I bring to the table that my coworker who's a male might not bring to the table, a lay coworker? And I really find that we can represent what's going on in the family, especially at meetings where we're talking about what's going on in our diocese, our plans. And I'm always trying to remind people of most of the people in our parishes and our churches, they're in the vocation of family, fathers, mothers. And so I'm trying to bring that to the table as well. So yeah, I love the opportunity.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up family. And you mentioned you have 2 young daughters.
I do. I have Lucy, who's going to be 6 in the fall, and Claire, who's 2.
Oh, how nice. And now, what do you think, as a woman who's a working mom and in this position of leadership in the church, what kind of message are you hoping to give your young daughters about their future?
I'm trying to give them the message that you can choose what you want to choose, right? And that the choices are yours, and it's just so wonderful that the choices are there. But I'm also trying to be honest with them as they get older, that you can't have it all. I think every woman thinks that she can, quote, have it all. But as I sit here today, my mother-in-law is helping to watch my girls, one of my girls, because my daycare is closed this week. And so it really does take a wonderful, strong family in order to, quote unquote, have it all. And when I got married, my mother-in-law actually told me something that I kind of just put aside at the time, but it's really becoming more and more true that you can have it all, but not all at the same time.
Right.
So I'm just super lucky that I have a career that is family friendly, and that I can have my young children and enjoy them. I actually have off on Fridays in the summer at the Chancery, so that's really nice. But it's, it really is impossible to have everything all at the same time, not just in family life, but just in life.
Yeah, I love the realism of that statement, because I think every woman can relate to that. That idea of having it all feels like such a lie sometimes, and what we forget is that in saying yes to some things, we're saying no to other things. And reminding ourselves, I think, is so important, that you can have it all, but not all at once, that your life has stages. And so what are your hopes for the future for you?
Well, I don't know. I enjoy my job thoroughly, so I'm hoping to stay there. And I have so much more to learn, so much more to grow in that job, becoming more effective, hopefully, in my job. Some of the people, my predecessor was there about 30 years.
Wow.
And some of my counterparts have been doing this for 30 years. So I have so much to glean from them, so much wisdom. They kind of have seen it all. What's going on at a state capitol is very similar to what's going on at another state capitol. These fights are becoming national oftentimes. So I'm hopeful that I'm being mentored right now, I would consider myself, by other state Catholic conference directors. So hopefully in the future I'll have the opportunity and I'll be able to do that for others.
Fantastic. You're so inspiring.
I love it. My job's awesome. It's a dream job.
I really feel like you're bringing a fresh voice.
Yeah, I never knew it existed, this job, but it's really a dream job for me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational words and your beautiful example for the future of the church. Thanks so much for coming in today, Suzanne.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.